money. I'm the one who operated a successful YouTube channel. I'm the one who just filed for bankruptcy. I'm the one who didn't pay my taxes. I'm the one, me. I'm the one who masturbated in front of children. I'm the one who got 4th place at Evo. I'm the one with a 10-year legacy. I'm the one, me.
Yeah, boy.
Yo, what up? It's your boy. And in today's video, our boy Phil is about to show us how ignorant he is. Honestly, when it just comes to copyright and how trademark really works, like, this guy really thinks you can add "the" onto something and it changes the whole name. Like, imagine, like, I started a restaurant and I called it The McDonald's. I'm pretty sure McDonald's would have legal grounds to come after my head and bank account, Phil. So yeah, there's been this other podcast, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys already know. It's called Level 1 Podcast, and they pretty much do like tabletop and things like that. And they sent a cease and desist letter to Phil, and Phil pretty much ignored it. And it's like, what the hell? Who do you think you are, Phil? You know, it's just an example of his entitlement again. Phil's probably the most entitled little man-child you will probably ever see on the internet. And today he's going to address kind of the issues going on with that and the trademark issues between Level 1 Podcast and quote-unquote the Level 1 Podcast. Like, think about it. Phil literally changed the name of his podcast to try to stick it to the troll snort. You know what I mean? Because he's stuck on Level 1. But at this point, I'm like, Phil, you're not even stuck on Level 1, my guy. He's still stuck on the main menu. He doesn't know how to press start and get past the main menu kind of brain. That's what Phil has, alright? So let's get started, my friends. Remember to like, subscribe, comment. Let's get into this mess.
They said, so Phil, you're getting close to 200,000 subscribers on DSP Gaming. And let's be honest here. I probably should have hit 200,000 subs 10 years ago. But because of the kind of content creator, the prolific nature of my uploads, the way that they were, most people who liked my content 10 years ago never subscribed. I used to get 10 million views a month. Now I barely can reach like 750,000. But I used to have 10 million views a month, yet I never had 200,000 subs. Think about how crazy that is. People didn't like the way that YouTube ran and the fact that it spammed their inboxes. So people never really subscribed to the channel. They would just watch the content on it like crazy.
Shut up, Phil. You are where you are because of yourself, man. And you know what? I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Because I've been on YouTube for a minute. Dude, Phil, he was on the search page back in the day. He could be where PewDiePie or Markiplier is. Like, literally, bro, if he played his cards right and was actually, like, funny and charismatic and kind of knew how to play to a particular audience, he could be where like, Markiplier is, you know? He could have his little cheesy jokes and stuff like that, but Phil is hard-headed. He comes from the stupid-ass arcade era, you know? So he takes his gameplay too seriously and he's trash at everything he plays. And look at him now, bro. Bro, I get more views than him on a video. That's insane. You know? Like, that is insane if you really think about it. He has 200,000 subs. And some of my videos have gotten more than some of his. So I don't know. That's something you have to think about. Oh, snap. All right, let's keep going, guys.
It did at about 180,000 subscribers, and then it froze. In the last year, since I became a full-time dedicated YouTuber again, I rose by a ton of subs. We were at 180,000 something. Now we're 199 and climbing. It's a slow growth, but it's growth. Likely by the end of this year, especially with all the new releases that'll be coming out in the fall, I'm probably going to hit 200,000 subscribers.
Yo, sorry, so I'm recording this off the cuff, so I can't really credit, you know, the person in my comments that said this on my last video, but he made a really great point. I loved it. He's like, bro, like, with the more viewers and subs that Phil gets, you know, the more people are gonna, like, actually look into his history, the more that, like, bigger YouTubers are actually gonna see the things he did. So if you really think about it, like, Phil, getting more subs for you after everything that's happening to you, especially with this like whole fiasco with your cease and desist and the latest little comments, you know, they're gonna bite him in the ass at some point, bro, and he's gonna be sweating, begging for money when YouTube shuts him down. Trying to tell you, happened to Shane Dawson, you know. That's James Charles got taken down trying to turn straight men gay. Oh snap, sorry. Alright, let's go.
There's one thing I want to address very quickly, publicly. I feel like I should do this publicly, even though 9 times out of 10 when I hear rumblings from the trolls and assholes, I ignore it. Okay? In this case, because idiots think they know something, which they don't, I will publicly address something because some troll just said it in my chat, and I'm like, well, if the trolls are going to come to my chat and start spamming nonsense, I might as well address it briefly. 2 weeks ago, I rebranded my pre-stream podcast as the Level 1 Podcast. This is a show where every day I talk about gaming topics, I talk about myself in my streams, gaming news, and the like, okay? That is the show. You guys know that. I've been doing this for a couple of weeks, okay? Well, the trolls decided to reach out to try to find if anyone else on the internet ever did anything called the Level 1 Show or Level 1 Podcast or just Level 1 Podcast. And apparently they reached out and found someone who at one point had a podcast called Level 1 Podcast.
Shut up, Phil. Alright, it's not that hard. You guys can do it for yourself. Go on Google and type in the Level 1 Podcast and see what the first search result that comes up for you is. Alright? Type in Level 1 Podcast without the at the beginning and tell me what the first result you get is. It isn't Phil's trash podcast. It's someone else's podcast called Level 1 Podcast. And yeah, it isn't what Phil does. It isn't this informative, great content, you know, that Phil does. But it's, you know, tabletop. But that's the thing, dude. Phil's gonna sit here and if you shift a few words around, it makes something that someone else is yours, you know? So let's get into it.
The show has been defunct since 2020, so it's been over 2 years. There hasn't been a new episode of the show. The show dealt with tabletop gaming and RPG style gaming. It has nothing to do with video games whatsoever. It has nothing to do with online content creation. Nothing like that whatsoever. And it's called Level 1 Podcast, not the Level 1 Podcast. It's a different name. Okay?
What the hell, Phil? You're an idiot. They have nothing to do with online content creation. What the hell is a podcast then, Phil? Come on, my guy. We're not all that stupid, dude.
They're basically saying, okay, is they have tried to convince this person that I am infringing on something. Now, it doesn't make sense because what would I exactly be infringing on? Let's think about this, how the law works, okay? Has anything in the Level 1 Podcast, since I started doing it 2-3 weeks ago, infringed on anyone's copyright? No. I don't use any copywritten content in my show. It's 100% original content on this show, right? All of it. And even the intro is, you know, a fan created that, contacted me. I have written permission to use that introduction. Everything on this show is, you know, fine for either fair use or is my own original content, okay? This has absolutely nothing to do with anyone else's show or anyone else's content. The only way that copyright could come into play is if I was literally taking someone else's show and re-uploading it or watching it, for example, React content. I'm reacting to their show without their permission.
Holy, go on, Phil. Phil, you really don't think we're that dumb, my God? Oh my God, he really said that. I don't take their content and put it on mine, so it's not... Bro, he's literally showing you that his brain is stuck in, like, YouTube. It's stuck in YouTube mode and how YouTube copyright works. He's literally acting like YouTube's terms of service and copyright, you know, rules apply to the U.S. law. Woo! Like, oh my God, I'm not taking their stuff. Oh my God, Phil. Like, it's not the fact that you're taking someone's content or not, my guy. It's the fact that you're using someone else's name that's trademark that is similar to what you're using, okay? And the point is, like, remember back in the days, dude, when everyone's parent, you might have to be old like me to remember this. When your moms and dads used to call every video game system a Nintendo, you know, like a Sega Genesis. They were like, oh yeah, get off your Nintendo. And you're sitting there like, I'm playing a fucking Sega Genesis, Mom. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that, Phil. People don't want to get confused with an actual pretty good podcast with your mediocre, meandering beg fest, okay?
Rebroadcasting their own content. Then copyright comes into play. It doesn't come into play until you're doing that. I'm not doing that. So copyright absolutely positively has nothing to do with any kind of a situation regarding this podcast. It's an original work. It has nothing to do with anything else. Fair use would be either in effect or it's my own original content. You can't even say anything about copyright at all, okay? Well, what about trademark? What if someone at one point had trademarked the phrase Level 1 podcast, okay? Fair enough. Well, let's look into that. How does trademark work in the United States? Are you aware? I'll tell you. I know exactly how it works because I've been involved in this legally before. When you go to trademark something, okay, you have to file for it with the Trademark Office of the United States. It's very expensive and it's an arduous process. It takes months and months and months, sometimes a year, to get anything even filed with the Trademark Office, okay? When you do this, the Trademark Office specifically will ask you, what are you trademarking? What is the content that you're putting out and what are you looking to trademark? So I'll give you an example. Let's say I had something called The Blue Show. The Blue Show, like that's the name of the show. It's color or whatever, okay? And the name of the show is The Blue Show, okay? The first thing the Trademark Office asks is, what is The Blue Show? All right, well, it's an online podcast. Okay, what is the subject matter of your podcast? They want to know that. It's not just you make the show, it's what is the show about? You have to tell them that. Okay, now what are you trademarking? Are you trademarking the show with that name? Or are you trademarking something further? Because the way the Trademark Office works, it's so complicated.
There we go. Phil, like, trying to spin things like they're more complicated than they are. They're not that complicated, okay? Like, today, you cannot open a store and, you know, it's a store that sells video games, strictly video games, but you call it Walmart. You know what I mean? You can't even call it the Walmart, bro. This is common sense, and that's what Phil does. He pretty much tries to tell you the sky's purple. Okay, I know you were told it's blue, but if you really think about it, and I know how these things work because I've been through it, the sky's actually purple, okay? And the clouds are pink. And it's like, dude, Phil, like, you can have some, like, bro, Walmart sells clothes. My restaurant would sell, like, cheeseburgers. I know for damn sure I just can't call my restaurant Walmart. You know what I mean? Like, it could sound similar to Walmart. So say I want to call my store Stallmart. You know what I'm saying? Or Street Mart. That's why you have a lot of marts, you know? So it's somewhat familiar with the word Walmart, and it makes it get your brain thinking, oh, this place might have some good things and stuff. It's all a thing. I'm not a businessman, but I actually studied business. Bro, while I had getting a culinary degree, okay? Phil didn't study nothing involving business, okay? He just popped off on YouTube before a lot of people did, and he thinks he's the king pooba of everything.
You have a show you call The Blue Show and you put it out every day and it's a podcast. Well, you have to categorize the show. If it's about politics and it's a news talk show about politics, you have to call it that. That's what you're trademarking. If someone else makes a show called The Blue Show and it has absolutely nothing to do with politics or it's not a news talk show, that's considered different via the Trademark Office. I know that sounds stupid, but it is. Basically, they completely categorize everything based on subject matter. All right, so there you go. Now for example,
see, that's how you know Phil is full of shit, okay? Like, if that was the case, Phil, you would see a bunch of companies all over the place called Marvel. You know what I mean? Like Marvel Automotive, or, you know, Walmart, but they only sell comic books, like I said. You can't do that because you would get the average consumer that probably does, like, you know, you get people confused. Trademark literally is like to prevent clickbait, if clickbait existed back in the 1800s. And that's what Phil doesn't understand. He's acting like this is all YouTube. Bro, if your name sounds like someone else's name and they trademark that name and it sounds similar, bro, you just change it. And that's the thing, Phil's too lazy to change his name. Bro, Level 1 Podcast, bro, Keemstar gave that to you. Okay? Like, imagine taking pride in that, Phil. Someone you discussed, and you're taking something he called you, and you're making it a moniker of pride. What a fucking schmuck.
Would say, oh, well, let's do it anyway. Let's get involved. Any lawyer out there, let me just to clarify here. Any lawyer out there will take your money. Okay? Lawyers like money. And they would love to take your money if you are stupid. Okay? They will take your money. And they will say, oh yeah, we'll see if you have a case and we'll do this and do that. They will absolutely positively do that. And then tell you you have no case. You know what I mean? Absolutely ridiculously stupid that anyone would think that there's any kind of a case against this when I already looked into it. By copyright means there's not even a close resemblance of anything. I'm not using anyone else's content. This is my own original content. Trademark? No. I'm not doing a show called Level 1 Podcast. I'm doing a show called The Level 1 Podcast, which is a different name. It has nothing to do with the other show. Even in subject matter, it's not the other show. The distribution means is different. Everything is different. It's completely different. It doesn't work. Okay? They are just so up their own ass that they will, again, as you know, when it comes to my detractors and my haters, they have this weird circle jerking community where they literally will talk to each other and make them factually believe things that aren't real. They'll actually talk to each other and make themselves believe that the Level 1 Podcast, which has never existed on the internet, is the same as Level 1 Podcast. That's a different show that has nothing to do with the show and isn't even the same name. They'll actually say that. They're that dumb.
Trademark law is designed to avoid consumer confusion over the trademark that businesses or other organizations use in connection with their goods and services. Stated briefly, trademark law makes it unlawful for a business to use a trademark, e.g. a slogan, a logo, a name in connection with a good or service if that use is confusingly similar to another business's use of a trademark. Phil, that's what that means. And Phil's gonna sit here and really try to spin it and confuse words and sentences and see how he leans more on copyright. He's leaning more on copyright more than the actual meaning of trademark. He sits here and tries to spin everything, spins his heels just talking about copyright and how he isn't stealing content, but he isn't really addressing the trademark issue, and he's just pretty much blaming trolls and gonna say he did everything right and correct and his name is totally different. Like, bro, imagine if I opened a damn restaurant and I called it The McDonald's. The McDonald's. Do you think I would get sued or not? You know what I'm saying? Imagine if I started a video game company and I called it The Nintendo. You know? That's what Phil is avoiding here. The actual issue. He's wrong. Man, I hope this blows up in his face and his ass gets drugged to court by his little pig hooves. Alright guys, but that's it for tonight's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And you already know I'm gonna catch you as soon as I can in the next video, my friends. Peace.